back with another video, y'all. Alright, thank you guys for showing up to the channel and potentially subscribing to the channel, right? You know, we say a lot of stuff, but we just say opinions and whatnot from what we see. I go by from what I see, not so much stats or whatever. I go by for what happened in the chapter, what I'm seeing and whatnot. So from what I've read the chapter already, right? So I have some knowledge on it. Saitama can't one-shot people who are strong. Like, he can't beat them with one hit. Because usually, like, Saitama has a history. When people are severely weaker than him, all it takes is one hit and they're dead. But with Garou, it's like, how many times he hit Garou and it did not kill him? So that means that Garou is getting stronger. And I feel like it's going to be a point in time where Garou gets so strong, right? Where it's like, okay, he could probably put some work. He could probably give Saitama some work. But in this chapter, he does get embarrassed quite a few times by Saitama. He did get a hit on Saitama. He made his head fly back like this. But then Saitama proceeded to, he's basically Saitama smacked him. And he smacked him so hard, it sent him flying. So, we could, you know, dive on in. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button for your boy. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like this new style of content that I'm doing on the channel? Let me know down below. Let's check this out. I think he just did all those things just to get stronger and not so much more like evil. Like, to me, he don't come across as severely evil. Like, he come across as like Deadpool. Like, he's gonna do what he want to do and whatnot. He beats up heroes because he feels like they're a joke, but yeah.
The overall, Garou, with the exception of his exceptionally brutal introduction to the series,
yeah,
has yet to do anything I would truly consider to be evil, and has actually demonstrated far more good. So yeah, very interesting text here indeed. Now, to kick things off, we would have the evacuated heroes and civilians together, continuing the scene presented to us at the end of the previous chapter. It would be expressed by Moon Rider that with the fissures having concluded, it was now safe for them to begin evacuating.
I feel like Moment Rider is really Saitama. I feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like that's Saitama in the future. Like, he just came back from the future. I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I can just be, you know, the guy who helps and shit like that. I don't know, like, that's a theory that I heard that a lot of people are going with, like, since 2015.
From the area by boat, which were being prepared in the background. However, Saitama would have his reservations against doing so, as despite things seemingly having settled for the time being, without frequently new monsters have entered the fray, it's hard to say whether things were truly stable and safe or not. Yet at the very least, he did believe that they should begin prepping the wounded for transport by way of the boats. Now, this talk of monsters would get Lightning Max thinking. It looked to him like the two massive monsters that recently arose had been suddenly torn apart, prompting him to wonder how such a thing came about. A major feat of strength that with conviction, Tareo will point towards Garou, who he would refer to as Uncle. Then going on to elaborate that Uncle must have taken them down since he is an incredible hero who protected him. An expression that seemed to only add to the confusion at hand. Moment Rider from there would ask if the person in question was a middle-aged man wearing a tank top. Of course, referring to Tank Top Master, which Tareo would dismiss. Moment Rider very clearly not having a proper gauge for strength. However, to interrupt these discussions would be an absurdly staggering tremor of the ground. Something very bizarre was clearly occurring yet again. All the heroes were not only concerned, but frightened, as after all, they were incredibly exhausted. Not to mention there weren't any S-Class heroes presently in their midst. Now, it was unclear if all this commotion was on account of someone fighting or a continuation of the previous seismic activity. There were just far too many unknowns here in regards to both friends and foes alike, with no means of confirmation, as we would then receive some incredibly major impacts being had some distance away. Certainly felt, yet very much out of sight. And this was Garou versus Saitama. Garou, who was in the midst of sending a wild flurry of aggressive blows towards his opponent, who in return evaded each and every one of said moves with a rather indifferent and nonchalant expression on his face as they duked it out way up high in the upper atmosphere. Meanwhile, the one with the upper hand was exceedingly clear. But then again, this was also certainly only just the beginning. We would then receive what is honestly a very impressive feat for Garou, and that is the dodging of Saitama's fist, which instead went over his head. And after ducking beneath the attack, Garou whirled his leg around while using the fist of Saitama as leverage for his own hand, which he followed up by dramatically kicking Saitama back down to earth as a great deal of water and rocky debris would rush upwards.
I feel like it's only a matter of time where they get... Now, here's my thing, right? Now I'm getting a good gauge of where Saitama is, right? And based off what I've seen in this chapter, the manga, he's about planetary, but not a planet like a buster. Not yet, until he does a feat that's along the lines of that. Right? Saitama does something along the lines, then he becomes a planet buster. Or if Garou does something along the lines of that, then he becomes, you know, a planet buster as well. So that's how I'm seeing it. Right? Now it's looking real interesting.
Response. And very much like in his previous fight against Flashy Flash and Platinum S, Garou would use the debris as footstools, allowing him to rush towards his prey with exceptional expediency, leaving a visual trail behind himself. All the while, Saitama was simply in the midst of patting dust off his costume. As he drew closer, Garou would reel back an arm and get the attention of Saitama. And here, Garou would make use of the so-called perfected fist he was ever so proud of and chop it directly onto the cranium of the bald hero with a viciousness and ferocity that dwarfed even that which he possessed against Sage Centipede only moments prior.
Rated everyone 10 and up. Experience the saga's greatest battles as you play through all 9 films.
And the fallout from this direct attack onto Saitama's form, good lord, was devastating. Everything around them would begin to collapse, and only got worse as the mere collision of these two entities proved too volatile for their environment. Yet, unlike the results he had seen against Sage Centipede, Garou here would begin to grit his teeth as he struggled to find any give against the shining surface of Saitama's head. It was to the point where the otherwise perfect form of Garou's chop began to wane and buckle from the pressure. This exceedingly offensive act against his opponent suddenly became a moment of defense for Garou. Saitama is so strong that to even attack him at all is inherently dangerous. And Garou would soon learn this lesson the hard way as Saitama lifted his head fully, and as a result, completely shattered the hand of Garou. He broke apart as if like a humanoid construct of stone. And in seeing this, Saitama would wonder about Garou here, questioning what was wrong with him and why he was picking a fight so suddenly, which Garou would not respond to as his severed hand would immediately begin to regenerate, clearly displaying the now especially monstrous capabilities he presently possesses. But best believe, things only get that much crazier in that realm as we continue on with the chapter. Now, despite these transgressions, Saitama was fine with it, as he still had something to say to Garou anyways. And based on the events of the previous chapter, it would seem that this was spurred on by his recognition of Garou's name, since before that, he was ready to be on his way in pursuit of his washed-away homely possessions. But Garou, again, would completely ignore Saitama's words here and go in for a punch to the face, which would only serve to annoy Saitama at this point, as he would tell the guy to listen when he's talking, all while hitting Garou and sending him flying. And man, oh man, Saitama had Garou's body jumping across the water like he was skipping stones. Meanwhile, Garou was still trying his best to wrap his head around just how powerful Saitama really is. And listen, this launching of Garou would go really far, as our various A-class heroes would begin to notice his surging torrent of water headed right for them. It would lead to safety just in the nick of time as Garou finally made his final collision. Saitama was simply too strong, and the proof was right there. The startled evacuees would completely freeze at the sight of the single exposed leg of Garou as he lay beneath the rubble. Yet as he arose, completely drenched and aggravated by the current state of the battle.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, Garou is... That's a feat within itself, because we know what happened to Boros. So this confirms that Boros was not really that strong. This confirms that if Garou was to ever fight Boros, right? If Garou was to ever fight Boros, Garou is washing him, bro. Like, he's getting washed by Garou, bro. That's what it confirmed. Because one hit from Saitama, he was already in pieces. He was already in pieces. Transformed and everything. Garou gets hit. He gets like a little crack here and there. He's like, oh, I'm irritated now. He's mad. Now he's thinking about, like, who is he? I seen him somewhere. Oh, he chopped me. He chopped me when I first met him.
Tareo in particular was especially enthused to see his savior yet again, as he would go on to call out to him, much to the concern of Lightning Max. Max would again be thrown off by the possibility of a figure bearing such a visage being the boy's uncle, as Sakingar would admit that he had no idea who the man was, but at the very least he had aided in taking down the massive centipede creature earlier. However, despite all this, Garou paid none of these guys any mind. He was overwhelmingly frustrated as his dream was right there within his grasp. Yet just as he was about to realize it, the absolute biggest hurdle he has ever faced in the form of Saitama had appeared. And so he resolved to take the man down for the sake of fulfilling his ultimate goal. Otherwise, he would never be able to become absolute evil. And it is here that Garou would undergo yet another transformation, the most sinister and monstrous looking one of them all, as his size would drastically increase, despite...
I'm not gonna cap. He looked like a Viator. Viator from Dying Light. Like he looked like one of those. I meant like from Dying Light 2. Like they get the hardening. Like the you know how like in Dying Light 1, like they had like their ribs exposed and whatnot, but they were super strong, super fast. Yeah, he's like the second version, the more advanced version of that. That's what Garou is.
Protrusions on his back will be risen to all-time highs, and his face favored that of a four-tails chakra cloak Naruto, which I absolutely love.
Oh, they out here copying. Out here stealing ideas. Out here thieving. I mean, I get it though. Like, it's cool. It's hot. Like, see, this I appreciate this because this is a fire car. It look fire. I'm not gonna even care. It look nice. Feel me? It look real nice. Look at the detailing, the shading.
And I mean, the terror invoked by this form would be written all over Tareo's face, which would very quickly be shared by the likes of our heroes. Lightning Max for a moment would be terrified, yet like a true hero, along with Snek, would rush into action despite this in protection of Tareo. Now this shift for Garou was an especially interesting one, as unlike all those to come before, was one he was actually conscious of. I mean, his last one kinda just happened without him realizing, as he was raging for quite some time, totally unconscious of his own actions. Yet now, he could recognize his body mutating in response to his rage as he inspected his own form. Yet he wasn't the
But what I find crazy is that the reason why he even got these forms is because of his rage and his obsession to get stronger and beat, you know, the S-rank heroes in One Punch Man. So it's like, that's what's crazy about this. He broke his limiter through rage, which is crazy.
Only one getting a good look of this new form of his, as the various heroes would be quick to get going now after seeing it, dragging Tareo along with them. However, the kid would be very quick to escape and make his way back. Garou could now feel his strength overflowing, believing that now, with this, he would be able to do all that he needed to. However, his attention would be drawn elsewhere as Tareo approached him. Garou, in his incredibly monstrous form, would greet the kid and merely acknowledge that the boy was alive, which was especially similar to what Garou had said the first time he had saved Tareo after facing off against the horde of heroes. And despite shaking in fear on account of Garou's outward appearance, Tareo was now certain it was him and would refuse to run away like he had previously. And so now, with tears and a big smile on his face, Tareo believed Garou was in fact a hero all along, which no doubt confused Garou. Here he'd remind the kid of what he had said previously, that he was not a hero. After all, just look at his new form. Garou would mention how he had finally managed to become a true monster before being cut off by Tareo, who would rebut that Garou was a hero. Garou didn't understand, but Tareo would point out how he had been saved for the 4th time by him. That now he knew for certain that whenever he was in trouble, Garou would come running to save him. That he was the coolest, greatest hero of them all to him. And so he had come to beg Garou to stop pretending to be a monster. From here, the kid would begin to cry for a whole new reason.
Yeah, that's my thing about Garou's development. Like, I know why he wants to be a villain, right? His reasoning for wanting to be a villain is because villains never get a happy ending at all. They don't get what they want. They're always dying and whatnot. So it's like he said, you know what? Hey, I want to be a villain because villains are cool. And I'm not gonna lie, villains do have cooler outfits at times. They be looking cleaner than the heroes. If you notice that the villains always look clean in every show, they always have something clean about them. You know, they always be drippy. Feel me? But if his reasoning for wanting to be a villain is is trivial though. Like it didn't make sense. It didn't make much sense to me, at least. I also felt like for some weird reason he's going to wind up being a hero. Like I feel like because if he was a villain, he'll be like a Frieza. He'll be like a Orochimaru at one point. He'll be like a not an Aizen, but like a lower tier Bleach villain, right? What else? He'll be like a what's that guy from Hunter x Hunter? The really fruitacious looking one. I forgot his name. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he'll be like one of those around that tier of villainy. Because it's like what he's gonna do after he beats Saitama. What is he gonna do? Like he didn't have a plan for that. So I felt like him being a villain, it wouldn't make much sense. For him being a hero, sure. Him being an anti-hero like Deadpool, sure. Because one, you can make a lot of freaking money, and two, who is stopping you if the money's right? So I feel like Garou has so many other avenues, but being a villain, it's not. You're not profiting off of it. You're not doing nothing with it. Say if you do beat Saitama, what you gonna do after that? You're gonna help the heroes fight the villain. So like, are you really a villain? You just defeated a 100-kilometer centipede with a chop. You didn't have to do that, but you did it anyway. You teamed up with Metal Bat. Feel me? So it's like, are you really a villain, bro? Like, are you really even a villain? Well, like you wanted to get stronger. That's all that you wanted, really, to be honest. Your motivation for trying to be this guy, oh, I'm a villain. You don't want to be a villain. You're not a villain.
He didn't want Garou to be misunderstood and hated. Garou is at a loss for words here.
Yeah.
Before recalling the hurdle ahead of
He's
him.
not a villain.
Saitama. He didn't want Tareo to cry. It certainly bothered him as internally he begged for the kid not to make such a face when he was finally on the verge of showing him the moment where the monster wins.
See? That's his whole idea. That's why he's even doing this. Look, if you could be that persuaded by a child crying, you're not a villain. You're not a villain, bro. He's not a villain. You're not a villain. You're not a villain, bro. You was never a villain. You put on this Vegeta act and no, bro. You're not a villain, bro. You're not a villain. You're not a villain. You're not.
Garou sees his younger self in Tareo, and as such, feels the need to provide the kid with a display he himself had always longed for and never received. But to interrupt this moment would be Saitama to put another part on top now. With this, Garou would become far more serious, telling Tareo to get a good look, as he was going to change the kid's entire outlook on life, showing him just how powerless heroes truly are. On account of this agenda, there would no longer be anyone left to kill.
I mean, yeah, until we see the next panel. If you read the chapter, you know what's gonna happen, bro. When you see the next panel, panel or two, you know what happens afterwards. I'm not gonna say anything.
Or save him. There would only be Garou, the embodiment of absolute evil. Which to me sounds like one final heroic act to end all heroic acts, but whatever. Ultimately, Garou sought to put an end to the world that made both of them cry. But Tareo would suddenly begin to panic all over again as he realized Garou intended to fight this hero, which certainly wouldn't help his case in being accepted by all the other heroes. But despite this urging, the kid would be told to get out of the way by Garou. But oh man, this is what I'm talking about. Saitama would pull up really close to Garou and question if the guy wanted to hit him, which caught Garou off guard. With a relatively sinister smile, Saitama would tell Garou to go right ahead.
Character development? Ooh, that's sour. Ooh. Woo. I didn't expect Saitama to be talking heavy. This man is talking heavy. Yeah, I was surprised when I read it for the first time. I was like, oh, hold on. This don't even sound like why his whole personality just randomly changed the way it did? My boy, like,
then asking if Garou was chicken. Saitama is way too disrespectful, and oh my goodness,
Talking
Garou's aggression would begin to boil over even further as his exposed eye would change in color as it had for his previous forms, as he would tell Saitama not to make him laugh. As he would punch Saitama in the face with all his might, as an absolutely stunned Tareo would stand there with his mouth wide open. But soon Garou would join him in disbelief, as there wasn't even a blemish on Saitama's face. His head merely steamed as he hadn't even blinked, and would simply move his head forward and continue staring at Garou. Tareo's mind was shattered by this. It was incomprehensible. Welcome to the club, kid. Saitama would then place his hand on Tareo's head, patting it, and letting him know that he shouldn't worry, as he wouldn't get hurt at all. But now, rightfully feeling pretty disrespected, Garou would attempt to knee Saitama as he did this, but Saitama would simply lift his hand off the kid's head and slap Garou elsewhere, telling him that they'll take this over there, as again, like a ragdoll, Garou was sent flying. Tareo would cry out in dismay and concern for Garou's safety, but Saitama would double-check that the boy wanted Garou to be stopped and not killed, which Tareo, despite his astonishment, would confirm with the nod of his head. Now with this in mind, Saitama would tell the kid to leave it to him, as he casually sauntered over to where he had sent Garou. Now with the fact that he won't be going for the kill in mind, this fight will truly test just how long Garou can last, despite Saitama's attempt to non-lethally subdue him, which is just so ridiculously exciting. If you're feeling the hyper...
That's crazy, bro. Even now he's holding back, but even when he was holding back against what's his name? Oh crap. I had like an epiphany. I forgot. Boros. Yeah, Boros. Yeah, even when he was holding it back against Boros, one hit was like killing him though. But he had like the ability to like regenerate and whatnot. But one hit, he was splattered all across the room and whatnot when he got hit with a serious punch or whatever, or like a casual punch. It really hurt him. But with Garou, it's like he's getting hit, but he's tanking them. He's like, it's kind of hurt.
Now let us know down below. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.
I'm gonna hit that like button, you feel me? Because that was another fire video by Plot Armor. All right, y'all, let me know down below what you guys think. Like, how you feel like the next chapter is gonna be? Like, do you feel like Garou's gonna show us something different, that like he's gonna keep powering up? And I feel like, you remember that webtoon that came out like around 2015 where it was Saitama fighting a demonic looking character, and I'm like, hold up, was that the webtoon that's from back then? Like, are we following that trope and whatnot, where he gets like the horns right here and he's like solid black and whatnot? Are we doing that? Because that's what I remember reading all those years ago and whatnot. So if they're going down that route, I'm like, oh wow, they're following the webtoon. That's crazy. And at first it was in fact a fan fiction. That much is true. It was a fan fiction at one point. But oh man, this is getting crazy, y'all. Let me know down below what you guys think. It's me boy Sue, and we're out here, y'all. Peace.